In this training nugget, I'm going to cover some of the functionality that the bars effect provides you within xLights. So here is the bars effect on our menu, and we're going to drag that onto a mega tree for demonstration purposes. And the whole purpose of a bars effect is, as it would sound, it creates a series of bars on the particular prop that you're putting the effect on. So in this case, we've specified 3 colors: red, green and blue. Now if we move into the options, at the moment you can see there is 1 green bar, 1 red bar, 1 blue bar. However, we can increase the repetition of the palette, so we will have 2 of each bar, and you can go on and expand that as you see fit. The next item is the number of times that it will scroll or go through the entire sequence between this start and end time. So the speed will actually change as you expand or compress this item on the timeline, because it is based on this start and end time period. So if we need a faster animation, we can move the number of cycles up to speed that up. Let's move back. Now there's several types of animations provided. So the one you're seeing there is up, so the animation is scrolling up the screen. I'll increase the speed slightly. We have the reverse, so if we want it scrolling down the prop. Expand is, if we look at this center point, it's expanding the next color in the palette from that center point. Compress does the reverse. We can see the green, the blue and the red are being compressed there. Now we've got the animation going from right to left instead, and left to right. H expand and H compress are identical to the expand and compressed, just in a different orientation. Alternate up is very similar, but there's no scroll. So rather than a smooth scroll up the prop, you're actually getting the colors changing at a specific point to match this number of cycles. So it's going, red, green, blue. So it gives a more of a flashing type effect, as you can see, particularly when we speed up the cycles. And then alternate down and alternate left and right are just the same animation, just in a different orientation. Now, the last 2 are more if you want a static set of colors, and you have the option now to actually move the position of these colors to your specification. So if we move, you can see. And this is quite nice when used in conjunction with the gradient, because as you can see, gradient will blend the colors into each other. And obviously the vertical version is exactly the same. We can move where we want those bands to appear on our prop. So moving down, highlight just puts a white line between each of our bands. 3D tends to graduate the color down to black, so it gives a 3D type view. And then we've already covered gradient, where it blends in. Now, although not strictly part of the actual effect itself, the palette I'm going to cover the palette in each of these effects, because the gradient effect within the palette tends to differ for each of the different tools. So it's important that we cover it here. So I'm going to turn off the color, so we only have the green, and I'm going to apply a gradient. So I've got a gradient here of blue to red, but I can choose some default ones, or I can create my own. For those who don't know, to get to this, it's just a case of right-clicking on the color, and that will take you to the gradient. So the first one I want to look at is over time. So if we look at this, what you see is this particular line is going to change, or this particular bar is going to gradually change from blue to red over this time period. And that is because we have this little clock symbol here. If we click here, we now have a static gradient that is passing from, need to make sure this is showing up and down, we can actually see. So we've got a static gradient that's passing from left to right, so gradually going from blue to red. Now it's going from blue to red, but from the top to the bottom, and right to left. But there's nothing to restrict you having multiple gradients as well. So if we go here, just created a gradient there, and now you can see we can get some really quite, nice looking effects. Throw in a bit of a highlight in there as well, speed up, and we can get some quite nice effects. So that is just some of the features that's provided by the bars effect. I hope you find this useful, and see you next time.